welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. Today's topic on December the 5th, 2025 is this Anglo DEI. Woman that was the CEO of this particular main topic organization that we're going to talk about, and this Somalian Tethering guy were both convicted in the largest child nutrition program fraud ever in America's history, along with many more Somalis that were involved. Oh, I got to do a double. I got to do a doubly on this one. I mean, the beyond nervousness of this type of scenario of hypocrisy, just like you see on this image. On the left side, the Anglo DEI woman. It says what? The original DEIer. Yes. And on the right side, the Tether Coalition disguiser are part of this many types of Tether disguisers who have the nerve to sit there and flee in this situation from an ancient continent. And so in this situation, you got these particular Somalian Tether fleers that couldn't get things situated in Somalia. No Pan Africanism were activated. They didn't stay over there to get things situated over there. Didn't get anything done to sit there and stop tribalism over there. Didn't stop anything going over dealing with the major drought situation. I'm getting into that in a little bit. Didn't stay over there to get any type of extreme poverty and inhumanity going over there. Didn't stay over there to get any type of super corruption to stop over there. Nope. But they fled. And didn't have the nerve to try to look down upon American blacks. I'm not talking about numbers of the. I'm not talking about some of the sellouts and gullible ones, by the way. The nervousness of this. And I was trying to see how to start this particular program because there's various types of topics I want to get into this situation. This is one of those kind of ones that if you can't see all of the show and you just want to be able to scan through it because it's definitely going to be some good information on this part. So the first thing I want to sit there and do is relay this over. How it is an insult, right? How you got the DEIer who are the original DEI, talking about this particular Anglo one woman, right? That are the major recipients of DEI-ness, been doing this for quite a while. But you got people that be like, oh my goodness, black folks always got their hand out. Affirmative action, which has started to sit there and help Anglos, basically primary them mostly on that situation. Black Americans, we ain't thought about trying to get no affirmative action because it wasn't for Black Americans, man. But you see, they've been playing the passive aggressive, patriarchy, controlling women, voter suppression, oppressing women, misogyny upon misogyny. The same regurgitated old infantile tactic that's been succeeded for quite a while, right? But they never talk about the racial racism that happens from various women within the Panamese culture toward Black American women. You see this game they keep playing, even unfortunately upon numbers of American Black women that don't even get that game. call themselves black feminists. You can't be a black feminist unless you had Anglo feminists first, right? So they copied over Anglo feminism, added the black feminism, picked up various parts of the hatredness that they have for their own males, and sit there projected that toward black American males for the last 50 darn years, and they expect black American males to keep tolerating that stuff. Boy, the nerve of that, of these Sister of Chaos members. So let me start with that particular part. Let me give me a second. Give me a second. This is why I'm looking at that. This is why I'm looking at that. I mean, the nervousness of that. And then you add in the tethering of the situation, the many tethers from Somalia that were dastardly and participate in this corruption. I mean, the nerve of it in the first place, to be allowed to even come to America, they fled. And to come over here to America and sit there and get caught up by choice in the largest federal child nutrition program, fraudulent type of wire fraud criminality in America's history. I mean, the superly, doubly nerve of that. Do you think Black Americans can go over to Somalia, Nigeria, various parts of Ethiopia, Kenya, Ghana, various parts of South Africa? I mean, you get the point I'm getting at. I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters over there, so we don't play that tactic. You think Black Americans go over there and do criminality? This is why, again, the numbers of certain sections of Africanism, they sit back and laugh at millions of American Blacks who sit there. They said, they are so naive and stupid. Many of them sitting there trying to help us out, and we're not doing any kind of reciprocity for them. We're not helping them getting a anti-American Black hatred crime bill. Nope. Because we stay over to our own selves, right? And we slide on the Black card when it's easy for us to do that. And we'll slide back out. Well, we'll get the Black card in genericality to get benefits and freebies and stuff like that. And bam, automatic citizenship, right? But same time, we'll dip back out and say, nope, we are Somalis. We're from this certain type of tribe from Nigeria. Or no, we say from Nigeria, very generic, because that's hundreds of different tribes and different languages. Or we're from Ethiopia, there's many tribes, different languages. We're from Kenya. You like which we know Kenya, various many tribes, different languages. We're from Ghana, but all different tribes, different languages. So they keep playing in and out, and they keep messing up millions of American Blacks with naivete, with very small exceptions. So you see the game that continues to keep happening. And this right here, this topic, it was such an insultness what they did, right? It's an insult. So let me go ahead and share my screen on this to start off. Oh, you know what? What I want to do first. Oh, man. I just want to just put this perspective. Now, look, let me make sure my mute is off. Good. Let me make sure everything's good. Hello. Okay, I just want to double check my mute is good. Off, should I say? Now look at this. The insulting of this situation too. Way over in this situation, Somalians, the one that's involved. Way over here that they came from. Way over here in the ancient continent of Africa, this big old giant continent. And they went from Somalia past Kenya. They definitely didn't want to talk about Ethiopia like that. Went past Uganda, went past Tanzania, went past Democratic Republic of Congo, went past the Republic of Congo, went past the Gabon, went past Angola, right? Went past all these different countries, right? Fleeing way across this Atlantic Ocean. They said, oh, go to South America. No, it's okay. No, we're going to go up here a little bit. Well, besides the one Somalians that's illegal. Oh, we don't want to talk about the border break illegal immigrant Somalians. Oh, there's various other Africans that break immigration laws too. Don't get it confused, but we're not talking about them for right now. We're talking about Somalians, since that was primarily the tethers that were involved in the largest criminality federal child nutrition program criminality ever, right? So, however, personnel, the Somalian fleer versions, went way across this Atlantic Ocean to the United States, way across what? From New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, all the way past Wisconsin, and they set up shop in Wisconsin. Set up shop in Minnesota, which is probably one of the largest versions of the top 3 amount of states that have the large population of Somalis. And how many of them, for people don't know, get freebies again, left and right, help them set up businesses free or some kind of small amount of loans, right? That they just keep bypassing left and right. Don't even pay that stuff off in general, right? How many of them get, again, benefit off of Black pain, off of Black Americans, right? By the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, especially as well. How many Somalians have sat there, came over, fled over? They were actually were not citizens, right? Came over here to America begging about political violence. They're trying to escape. They fear their lives like some other people do. What? Why don't they stay over there and do Pan Africanism? Nope. You said it's gold, right? But you got, however, agencies that have set up shop to help these immigration type personnel. But you start talking about reparations for American Blacks, and then people start getting silly. Then they start playing dumb with resources. Then, with specifically Black Americans, you see the insultingness of this, right? The insultingness that they help these various types of Somalians, like some other people too as well. But we're talking about this topic. And those men Somalians ain't thinking about American Blacks. They're just trying to get their us, right? And do peekaboo. They Black when they want to be Black, and then they make sure not to be Black when it's not convenient for them, right? On that. Way over here to Minnesota. I mean, the outrageously nerve of that situation. So I just kind of want to set that particular frame work up as well. So let me go ahead and definitely start the show on this. Let me, which one should I start for? Oh, Amy Bach, who was the CEO, who was Amy Bach, the Anglo woman, DEI. She was the CEO, executive director of the Feeding Our Future company that was supposed to be the main one of the big time child nutrition program providers. I mean, one of the big time ones that's supposed to be, get this, provide food nutrition services to wink underserved communities. You say that now, that's like saying people of color, communities of color, that little nonsensical game. Again, but they like Black folks and Black Americans to utilize that silly tactic as well, or that topic, a silly generic terminology. And millions do allow people to put them inside of a box instead of specifically saying, oh, no. Black Americans have their own unique culture. Don't be sitting there trying to put Black Americans inside some generic box, right? Somebody just popped over here from sections of Africa, sectionality from certain parts of the beautiful Caribbean islands or whatever places, right? Yesterday, half a day, I'm just giving an example. And they can be considered people of color, minorities, and some other people who slot on that banner. You said that gain goals, right? And they know it's not enough Black Americans, with very few exceptions, to see through that silly tactic, to stop allowing people to put them inside some silly people of color banner and minority and communities of color and underutilized communities, right? So Amy Bach, and which is again her little silly demonic hypocrisy self. How much you want to bet that she didn't play the toxic masculinity type male depressing her, play passive aggressive, right? Oh, misogyny, and how many times small numbers of Anglo women have benefit off of, again, affirmative action, benefit off of DEI programs, right? As businesses, individuals, the list organizations, the list goes on. But how many of them portray and still do portray anti-American Black hatred toward Black American males and Black American women? Right? You see the game that they play. And usually and overall, they're not called out for their hypocrisy because they know it's not enough males to utilize logical sense to stop allowing numbers of women within certain parts of Pan-Africanist culture to play that little tactic. They know it's not enough. And some other types of male as well. So who is Amy Bach? I'm just letting you read this while the music is going. The conviction stemmed from a scheme that misappropriated approximately $250 million in federal funds. Look at her. This dried out. But she was able to get inside the DEI banner, right? Oh, you best believe some personnel behind the scenes that we really will never know sit there, allowed her to get in certain positions and put up the capitalism and etc. Oh, you best believe she was utilized and she benefited tremendously and then tried to play a victim. Oh, numbers of them from within certain parts of Pan-Africanist culture, they are the masters of crocodile tears, the one this applies to, right? And you see what it said, by enrolling in fraudulent meal sites, submitting inflated reimbursement claims that she pretended that she know nothing about. And you talking about this was going on, what, she started, what, 2017, 18, whatever, that time that the company started, and then not a few years later, what, C19 started up? And she sat there and was fraudulently doing all those kind of things. Woo-wee. The funds obtained were then diverted for personal use, including luxury purchases and real estate investments. But she pretended that she don't know what happened, why she was benefiting off of it. During the trial, testimony from former employees depicted a culture of corruption within the organization. The nerve. How many of them were Somalians? Quite a number of them. How many of them were certain women within the Pan-Africanist culture? It ain't like Minnesota has a gigantic amount of Black American population, by the way. Oh, and also, by the way, Somalians, they only make up about 1%. They only make up about 1% of the total population in Minnesota. But they have set up shop in so many different places and areas in enforcement, politics, organizations. You get the point. Many of them were put in various positions. Many of them have been also, like some other type of immigration of Africanists, the one applies to be put in positions in other areas to sit there and try to basically be a buffer, to be the surplus generic blackness. Right? To show anti-American Black hatred, right? While sitting there doing for Somalians first, right? And then maybe some other African immigrants second or third. And maybe Blacks way beyond last, with not even real on that part, right? One such a planet, Hadith Ahmed, who described himself as Bach's right-hand man, also a fraudulent fleeing Somalian, right? Be his parents fled, or they brought him over here, or he was born over here. It still don't matter. It still was a tether, because he still would have still benefit off the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, right? Which has given so many cultures and backgrounds, ethnicities. The list goes on. right? The opportunity, bam, of people that sit there and come over here on certain type of tourist visa. You know, when they pregnant, that's a whole different topic on that situation. Quite a number come over to the United States of America when they 8 months pregnant, 7.5 months pregnant, well, about 7.5 months pregnant, 7 months pregnant, depending on how whatever it is, the little tactic they want to utilize. That baby is born, bam, automatic citizenship, right? Then go through Jack Crap with Black Americans, right? With Black pain. And I'm not talking about some of the sellouts and gullible ones, right? And you got people sitting there going right back to whatever countries, right? Because they specifically come over here in tourist visas, the ones supplies to. And you got people like these one, this situation, these Somalians that are tethering, they have benefit off of Black American pain, right? Bam, 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 automatic citizenship with kids and stuff like that. So now the kids automatic citizenship, they're getting all kind of freebies and SNAP benefits and housing assistance and rental assistance and work assistance. What the list goes on, right? Ain't did a damn thing help set up America as Black Americans been doing for centuries. See the game of that, right? So her right-hand man was a Somalian tether, be it his parents ran over here to America, right? Or he was born in America. Either way, it doesn't matter, still a tether, still the product of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. He was born in America. If the parents brought him over here when he was young, still a tether, because his parents tethered over to America, right? So he was benefiting, right, at the adult age bracket, living good and everything like that, right? He wasn't Black. He was Somalian first, wasn't he? Admitted to establishing sham nonprofits and accepting kickbacks to facilitate the fraudulent activities. What, Black American? I don't think so. Somalian African immigrationists. This tether was involved again with this DEI, super DEIer. The original descendant and the benefactor of the people who are the super recipients of the minority status, which is numbers of women within certain sections of the predominant culture, who many of those type of Anglo women once applies to, they super double dip and triple dip. They utilize a minority status that so many generations, last 25, 30 years still, Black Americans have been the poster board of saying people have been looking at Black Americans with silliness talking about minority, right? When the number one recipients of these various programs and benefits have been split, there are numbers of women within the predominant culture sliding under minority status because they are minorities. And they slide under the women's programs, left and right, see how that goes, right? Pacific women's programs. And then they slide under the minority program. You see how this system is magnetometer brilliant. And these feminists with their warped selves, they're not brilliant, they're demonic, and they know how to play certain types of tactics, right? While sitting there trying to play victims. Box Defense maintained that she was unaware of the fraudulent activity. You see how these masters of deception are within certain section of the predominant culture, type of women. They'll sit there again say toxic masculinity, but they sit there and emasculize males left and right. And they'll sit there and show their misogyniness of hatred toward men. They definitely show hatred toward their own men within various parts of predominant culture. And unfortunately, quite a number of men within certain parts of that culture are very naive, all extremely naive. They're getting used left and right by numbers of their women every day. But those are different topics in itself. See, she played some crocodile tears. She played the victim, passive aggressive, even though she was the CEO and executive director of that Sit There Child Nutrition Program. So she definitely knew what was going on because she benefited off of it. But like many times in various types of women within that culture, within predominant culture, they have been, should we say, breeded in the mentalities to play so many different sides. So many different sides. The enemy said the funds was conducted without her what? Hold on. Without her knowledge. Yeah, right. I'm gonna stop probably right here. However, evidence presented during the trial, including detailed records of financial transactions and communications, contradicted these claims. But at the same time, she acted like she was a victim. Right? Because she knows already many times, very few exceptions, they just have to throw out the crocodile tears card, right? What she have to do? What does she have to do again? Oh, and how many ones within the predominant culture of males, the one this applies to, they come running. Right? They come running. So let me go ahead now, get into the even more better parts of the topic is relating to the Somalian tether. On the right side, right? Ugh. Where's the Pan Africanism at for these Somalian tethers? You haven't heard no gigantic Nigerians, Ghanaians, Senegalese, Kenyans, Ethiopians, Eritreans, Congolese, South Sudan personnel. You get Botswanians, Malawians. You ever heard nobody talking about, we got to come to our Somalian brothers and sisters rescue? Nope, they be like, that ain't our problem. That's why it's not no Pan-Africanism. There are many numbers of personnel from various sections of Africa who don't want to be Africans. And again, I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters. So we're not going to play that little silly tactic. You know, ones love playing. Well, it's not all. No, we're not going to do that. Not going to play that silly tactic. Africa's a continent with 50 plus freaking countries. And how many places like Morocco, let's say Tunisia, Libya, Nigeria, you get the point I'm getting at. They definitely, how many know consider them South Africans? How many numbers of Egyptians? Well, basically our versions. You better not call them Africans. They be like, we're not Africans. I don't think so. Right? But people expect millions of Black Americans just be like, well, y'all call yourself Africans. What? Are you crazy? You see how this game goes. And unfortunately, this has been going on for the probably last 30 or 40 years that they've been knowing that quite a number of Black Americans have been the people that can sponge off of and manipulate. Hey, you my brothers and sisters, you know, the white men and the white women, oh, they sitting there doing stuff to us. No, we got to stick together, brothers and sisters. Right, just like certain types of Caribbeans, the ones it applies to, right? And the list goes on, right? And by the way, you don't hear nobody, various people in Caribbeans jumping up and down, calling themselves Africans. You don't hear Pan-Africanism telling numbers of Caribbean islands, various parts of beautiful Caribbean islands, y'all call yourselves Africans, right? They don't go down into Oceania, right? Papua New Guinea, the various areas over there, the many tribes they have. You better not go down there telling them, y'all Africans. Huh? They don't tell the Aboriginals the trueness of the original inhabitants of Australia. Y'all call yourself Africans. They be like, you don't go somewhere, but people tell Black Americans, y'all just call yourself Africans. And that was strong. That was strong to a certain point back in the 80s and the part 90s. There was a few Black Americans. I was like, hey, man, my brothers and sisters from the African continent, you know, we need to come and get it. Wasn't nothing wrong with that. Even though Pan Africanism did not start in Africa, that's the crazy part about it. Pan Africanism did not even start in Africa. And it wasn't even started by continental Africans. That's the crazy part about it. And the first several Pan Africanism conferences didn't even start in Africa. They started in Europe. Let me say it again. The first sets of Pan-African conferences didn't even start in Africa. They were in Europe. You see how that sounds? But how many Africanism versions, the ones applies to, will try to tell Black Americans they need to call themselves Africans? The freaking irony of the nerve. And yes, unfortunately, there are certain types of Black Americans that get into arguments with these fools. Instead of telling them, you go to hell. Who the hell do you think you are? You're in America, built by predominant numbers of Black Americans who are the builders of this country, besides certain ones within predominant culture personnel. Nobody else built this country more than Black Americans. Nobody had to go through the kind of SHIT more than Black Americans and still didn't get no reparations, still didn't get no American anti-American Black hate crime law. How many numbers of achievements were stolen by various personnel within predominant culture? How many lynchings toward the Black Americans that nobody else had to go through? Nobody else compares to the number of heroes and strongness of Black Americans who were in the service, trying to show their patriotism for centuries, and still was treated like inhuman segregation units, inhuman policies, and still had segregated units in the service after World War II. Still even pseudo-segregation type units in the Korean War. You get in the 50s, having the battle, still going to the 60s. Segregation, legal segregation, still going on in the United States of America in the 60s. And you got these various types of tethers who weren't even around 100 years ago like that, trying to sit there and tell Black Americans they need to call themselves Africans. Be freaking nerves. When you go back in around 1980s, there was only a couple 100,000 at that, and that's pushing a combination of African immigrants. It was only a few 100,000, a couple 100,000. That was it in America. And after 2000, they start doubling and tripling, and more African allowed immigrationists to bypass various parts of Blackism. This is why you had an infiltration of various types of immigration Africanism. The ones that applies to I'm talking about those kind of sellouts and very parasitic ones that are putting various positions in politics and get into predominantly what should be Black organizations, right? They put themselves and ingrain themselves in there and stuff like that, instead of me trying to sit there and push off American Black agendas. Oh, it's some hardcore stuff in there. It's disgusting. Because Black Americans better not go to better than go various parts of Africa and try to pull that stuff. They're not going to roll out the black carpet and say, oh yeah, y'all can benefit off of more than our own citizens in our country in Africanism. Right? You see the nerve of this. But let's continue. So I'm probably going to try to get a little bit fast on this. But let me just start here. Actually, and this is what I've noticed too, is the coverage of some of the stuff just recently started within I think about a month or so, right? But I was going to do a podcast on this many months ago, but other different podcasts came up or whatever else on that. But I'm glad some coverage is showing it. Now, like anything else, probably in a few more months or a couple of months, maybe less, it'll kind of just dwindle down. This is why I want to do a show on this. Look at this, 2022. Such and such person announces federal charges against 47. It was more than that later on, but I'm giving an example. Defendants, which mostly was Somalians. Tether versions. In a $250 million feeding our future fraud scheme. Now, the thing about it, if this was Black Americans who are participating in the largest child nutrition program, fraudulent criminality ever in American history, do you know how many either coon versions and sellouts and parasitic immigration African ones, how they be talking? Oh, I told you those Black Americans were they always talk about racism. Look what they did. They so lazy. Oh, can you imagine how many numbers of Anglo personnel the ones applies to that have been jumping up and down saying, oh my goodness, see, I told y'all. But since it's one of their people, to the ones it applies to, of a DEI super recipient, CEO, executive director of that program, how quiet they are. It's not about race then, isn't it? It's about, no, that's individual. You said it go, and see how certain types of Somalians now that are getting grabbed up and looked upon different. Oh my goodness, they don't like Somalians. Go to hell. See, it's always these, I'm telling you, it's got people act like this, not just certain types of Somalian tethers, some various other African immigration personnel too, the ones applies to. Oh my goodness, look at these people, the ICE and other people, they don't like African immigrants. Go to hell. Africa's 50-some plus countries. Go to hell with that game. You got many of the Africans don't even like Africans. So go to hell with that tactic. But again, understand, they're only doing what their mentality of trying to get over that they're trying to do. So they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to lie about whatever they need to lie about because they're not trying to go back to various sections of Africa, especially certain sections of sub-Saharan Africa. The ones it applies to. The majority of African personnel who have fled America, they ain't trying to go back. They say, oh, hell no. Oh, no. We ain't going back over there. But Black Americans are not fleers. And how many of them are jealous of Black Americans for not being fleers? And again, I'm not talking about no little good African brothers and sisters, which I don't like utilizing that genericality with that context, because Africa is a continent. And eastern part of Africa, they're not jumping up and down about western part of Africa. Western part of Africa not jumping up in parts about southern parts of Africa. And certainly southern Africa is not jumping up and down about northern part of Africa. And various parts of northern part of Africa, like, I don't care about none of you different kind of Negroes in Africa or Negro Africans. You said that goes, right? Several hundred languages, several hundred tribes. There's no Pan Africanism in Africa, right? But again, got people trying to tell Black Americans they need to call us Africans. You don't get out of here with that. But how many know the immigration Africans, the ones applies to in this situation with various parts of Somalians, they want Black Americans to help them out, right? Oh my goodness, you Negro Black American, you my brothers and sisters, we need your help. You need to go there. Tell many Black Americans, some of them tell them to go somewhere with that. Now you still got some gullible ones out there, be like, well, they're my brothers and sisters. That's some psychological neuroticism on that. That person is truly mental sick inside. Because of Black pain. You're going to help somebody else out because they have the skin of Black, but they ain't did nothing for you. Are they often automatic citizenships without any type of exorbitant type of fees? I don't think so. Is Somalian doing that? I don't think so. And there's only but a couple or so countries in Africa that actually are offering citizenship. But at the same time, it's somewhat of an insult. He's like, while this time, you wait all this time. How many participated in the bringing over of Black folks to America? Huh? There's no way Black Americans should be going to Africa and having to pay the one who's doing it, paying extravagant or exorbitant fees and go whatever classes, whatever application paperwork, whatever long list of other different things, to sit there and go back and try to get citizenship when that country has been responsible for participating in the middle-leg slave trade. Do you see what kind of insulting is that? Now, to pay a small fee, regular application, not a problem. But to pay exorbitant fees to go to whatever class of classes or whatever, jump through hoops, that's an insult. That's an insult. And again, it's only but a couple or so African countries that are offering citizenship. And look what's going on in some of those countries. Now, if people have, and we're going all that, just understand that there are some legitimate opportunities that various countries should be offering Black Americans. Oh, the type of things Black Americans can build in various parts of Africa, because Black Americans have built already built America for the last several centuries, and still, how many are still treated as inhuman? Racial racism, hatred. That's prevalent, unfortunately, within certain sections of Black Americanism mentality. It's that shaming field. Even though they come from greatness. But when you have been instilled with shame and anti-American Blackism, it's hard for them to hold their head up. But the ones who do know, salute to the number, this small number of Black Americans who know they come from greatness. They are greatness. So I hear them. So a nonprofit feeding our future and 200 plus nonprofit feeding our future and 200 plus meal sites perpetrated the largest C-19 fraud scheme in the nation. Minneapolis, Minnesota. This particular person for the District of Minnesota today announced federal criminal charges against 47 defendants, mostly Somalians, by the way, for their alleged roles in a $250 million fraud scheme that exploited a federally funded child nutrition program during C-19 pandemic. I just at least want to start right here, because again, this is 2022, as you've seen, where they was just starting off with these type of charges. But what some people have heard, well, today, I'm just saying for people might hear us down the road or something, or a couple of days. Again, this is December the 5th, 2025. There are a few people that's been talking about this, not a lot as it should be. But again, a few months ago, you rarely would have heard anybody talk about this, right? So I just want to kind of set the parameters for this part of it. It talks about how today's indictment is describing an egregious plot to steal public funds meant to care for children in need of what amounts to the largest pandemic relief fraud scheme yet. The defendants were, mostly Somalians, by the way, went to great lengths to exploit a program designed to feed underserved children in Minnesota amidst the C-19 pandemic. See the switchery word, underserved. Said that little switchery word, right? Fraudulent diverting millions of dollars designed for the program for their own personal gain. These charges, seeing and all that, you get the point on that. So on this, so let me stop right here because I need to rock and roll a little bit more, a little bit. So let me go ahead and share my screen on this. play this. Oh, excuse me. Oh, crap. Let me. Okay, let me. Hold on for a second. Volume here. Some things I'm probably not going to show because I'm falling behind on some things on the show. It's been going a little bit longer than I thought it was going to go. So I'm just going to play this and probably a few more videos, and I will probably just go ahead and close the show. But I also want to play a couple of real necessary parts right now.
Well, prosecutors say was the nation's largest COVID-related fraud scheme was just found guilty. Amy Bach was the founder of Feeding Our Future, a nonprofit that federal prosecutors say was at the heart of a $250 million scheme to fleece taxpayers during the pandemic by exploiting federal child nutrition programs. Bach and her co-defendant Salim Saeed were among 70 people charged in the case since late 2022. Jurors agreed with prosecutors' arguments that Bach approved applications for hundreds of fraudulent meal distribution sites, submitted scores of phony reimbursement claims to the state, signed 6- and 7-figure checks to site operators, and collected kickbacks. According to investigators, Bach recruited dozens of other people, primarily from the Somali American community.
What? Primarily from the Somalian American community. And now you have some various political figures. I think the mayor of one of the cities, whatever other places, that they were trying to make excuses for this. You know who's bought and paid for on that part. So they're just going to pretend that this didn't happen, right?
In Minnesota to open nearly 300 meal sites around the state. Then she forwarded meal reimbursement requests to the Minnesota Department of Education for millions of meals that were never served. According to prosecutors, Salim Saeed's Safari restaurant was the most prolific fraudulent meal site and took $16 million from taxpayers in 2020 and 2021. Safari falsely claimed to have served as many as 6,000 children a day from a small restaurant along Lake Street. During the trial, prosecutors noted that Safari's weekly meal claims exceeded the capacity of Target Field. The trial in an earlier one last year revealed the massive scope of the investigation. There were 299 purported meal distribution sites under Feeding Our Future sponsorship that claimed to have served more than 90 million meals. The search of the nonprofit's headquarters and 24 other locations in early 2022 was the largest law enforcement operation in Minnesota history. The FBI, the IRS, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service collected 4.4 million documents and issued 1,200 subpoenas for bank records. A key revelation at the trial came when prosecutors showed jurors a string of text messages from Bach to a Feeding Our Future employee, where she discussed scorched earth tactics for dealing with an unhappy meal site operator, writing, quote, "We may have become the mob." Last year, Minnesota Legislative Auditor Judy Randall found that the Minnesota Department of Education continued to approve payments to Feeding Our Future despite concerns about fraud.
Now, were there some people within that particular entity that knowingly committed fraudulentism on this situation? What kind of personnel was sitting there doing this? Because they certainly weren't Black Americans in this situation that was doing this, because there ain't that many Black Americans up there like that. Because again, many of the Somalian type personnel are putting in various positions in enforcement, in politics, however, certain types of, say, maybe Black organizations. You see how that goes, right? And they're looking out for Somalians first. They're not thinking about Black Americans. They're not even thinking about other types of African immigrants, because they ain't thinking about no Pan Africanism. They're doing for themselves over there. Not doing for themselves, because they're scamming numbers of them. How many how many of them are getting business loans, business grants, housing assistance, freebies? You said that go, right? How many of them are told, hey, don't tell really people what you're getting. But when you know that knowing, when you're a researcher, and anyway, it ain't that difficult. When you know how these many different programs, immigration resettlement programs, are helping various types of African immigration personnel and many other type person. Don't get it confused. I'm just giving an example, right? But same time, you start talking about what are people going to do for Black Americans who are the foundation of this country? What about the reparations then? They can't find no money then, right?
Judge Nancy Brazel has yet to set a sentencing date. Two of the defendants convicted at the first trial in 2024 got prison terms of 12 and 17 and a half years. The case has drawn attention from state lawmakers who are looking at toughening penalties for fraud in state programs.
Yeah, have you noticed again that the conversation about, the conversation about no such thing as race. Nope. You don't hear nobody bringing up various parts of KKK type people within certain sections of Pan African culture. Oh my goodness, Black people. They always, no, because it's some people within. So, because Annie Bach is what? Anglo woman. DEI. DEI. From this situation. Right? There are that few amount of Anglo women that don't act like certain ones, but those are small. They always been small in America. And we can't be this naive to think that there is none Anglo women that don't act like the primariness of various types of women within the Pan African culture. We can't be this naive, but there are certain other people are. That's like sitting there acting as if the Sister of Chaos type members don't have a hatred for Black American males themselves, but they don't want to see Black American males have some kind of peace. They sure don't like Black American males be traveling. While at the same time, none of the Sister of Chaos can go travel where they want to travel, right? And people ain't supposed to say nothing to them. Black American males ain't supposed to say nothing to them, but they go different other countries or other places and stuff like that, and then to be, trying to be nosy to see what Black American males are doing. And then when the Black American males ain't talking to them like that, way across the oceans or way across different places, then they mad. They got some neuroticism too. But at the same time, with the Americanism, how many of those same Sister of Chaos members don't sit there and pay attention to good numbers of Black American men, right? But at the same time, they want this Black American man to have all this gigantic amount of money. One has this kind of education going on. One has this kind of car. He got to stay at this particular place. He got to have that. But the majority of Black women don't even have that. The nerve. But quite a number of Black women within the Sister of Chaos are really messed up. They really are messed up. And numbers of women within the Pan African culture sit back and laugh at them because many of the Sister of Chaos members, they wish they were Anglo. They really do. I mean, they even sit there and call yourself a Black feminist is a sickness. The 1950s and 60s, please go ahead and show that gigantic amount of Black feminism that was hardcore and they were doing what they want to do. I don't think so. Black women, like Black males, was in segregation in the 60s, people, and still going to the 70s and even up to the 2000s in certain places in this country that still had segregationists going on, still kind of schools. And still how many right now towns and cities where Black Americans better not go to are the small amount in that place or that place. They know their places. Still called things called sundown towns. Still going on 2025. The game is tough. Right? The game is tough. So what else I want to show here? I'm about to move a little bit faster on this now. So again, make sure you can see this. So I really want to try to get to a couple of different things. I'm going to probably cut this show a little bit shorter on that because there's definitely a couple of things I really want to show. So let me just start right here, finishing up in this and a couple of different things. I'm going to call it a day. A federal jury, just relaying over this. A federal jury in Minneapolis. I'll make sure my meter's okay. A federal jury in Minneapolis on Wednesday, which is March of 2025, convicted Feeding Our Future founder Amy DEI. Anglo woman Bach, and former restaurateur owner Fleer are recipient of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, right? Bam, automatic citizenship. Either way, tethering. Either way, Salim Saeed, Somalian, on charges of wire fraud and robbery. The trial followed a lengthy investigation into an alleged scheme to fleece taxpayers out of $250 million by exploiting government nutrition programs during C-19 pandemic. It is the largest C-19 fraud scheme in the country. And the overall fraud scheme, 70 people, including Bach, D-E-I, Anglo woman Bach, and Saeed, Tether, Somali Saeed, were charged. A little more than half have pleaded guilty. Jurors found Bach, D-E-I, 44. Oh, and she had like what? She didn't know what was going on, and she was the CEO and executive director, but she pretended like she didn't know anything. But that's what it shows you earlier. She was signing checks and stuff like this and different things. She knew exactly what's going on. But again, how many of them are the masters of passive aggressiveness? The masters of crocodile tears. The masters. Guilty of all 7 counts. But watch this. The Somalian Saeed man, he got a remandment. They convicted Saeed 36 of all 21 charges, which also included 5 counts of money laundering. So Amy, DEI version of Anglo woman version, 44. She's guilty of 7 counts, and she's the CEO or was CEO, executive director of the program for Feeding Our Future, founder. She's convicted on 7 counts, but Somalian Tether version, he was convicted on 21 charges. Woo, boy. Well, I'll tell you. Oh, boy. So let me go ahead and share my screen again on another one. I'm definitely finna go a little quicker here. I think actually what I actually think I want to do is, oh shucks, wait a minute, give me a second here. There was something else I wanted to show, and I think give me a second here. Wait a minute, why am I not? Give me a second here. Oh crap! I guess I need to show this. Give me a second here. Yeah, I know what I need to show. Give me a second here. Okay, let me share my screen here. Verdict. Okay, let me play this.
Us at 4, I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. We're following some breaking news right now. In the last hour, a jury has found the ringleaders of the largest pandemic AIDS scam in the country guilty on all charges. Lou Ragoose joins us now live from court with the latest. Lou.
Rena, the jury needed just 5 hours of deliberation. That is 1 hour for each week of testimony they heard during this trial for Amy Bach and Salim Saeed. Bach, the alleged mastermind of the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme. She's the former executive director. Evidence in the trial showed that she signed and submitted every single count for reimbursement, certifying that the number of meals claimed to be served to children was correct.
And you see what I was showing earlier, when she was acting as if that she didn't know anything. She was playing what passive aggressive, playing victimhood, because they are the masters of playing victimhood. Right? They're the masters of beneficiary of affirmative action. They're the masters of receiving DEI-ness. I don't get it confused. There are numbers of males within various parts of Panama's culture that also pseudoness get some type of DEI. Doesn't matter if they have some kind of companies that still benefit off of whatever funds given to them, right? And indirectly, that particular person is woman or women within certain parts of Panama's culture, getting DEI in companies and programs. So what firm action, right? Which is about helping primarily personnel within the Panama's culture, numbers of males and women in the Panama's culture, help them out, right? Help them out with affirmative action, not Black Americans. When affirmative action was in existence, Black Americans were still in formal segregation. So how in the hell Black Americans are going to benefit of affirmative action when Black Americans were still millions affected by racial racism, anti-American Black hatred, right? Numbers still getting lynched, still segregation, still can't go to the kind of college you want to go to, right? Still can't go to the kind of neighborhood you want to go to. Former segregation units in various parts of the military, right? But Black Americans are going to sit there and benefit off affirmative action. You don't go to hell with that tactic. But see, the system loves knowing the Black Americans who don't know history.
Evidence also showed that Bach signed every reimbursement check, all the millions and millions of dollars paid out to these meal sites. Salim Saeed was one of the first and biggest participants in the fraud.
Let me play it again.
He used to own Safari Restaurant. Saeed was one of the first and biggest participants in the fraud scheme. He used to own Safari Restaurant in South Minneapolis. Once they joined the meal program in April 2020, right at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, within weeks, they were claiming to serve 6,000 kids every single day. Both of these defendants took the witness stand, and both of them told stories that the jury did not believe.
See how that goes? You got a DEI-er, Amy Bach, that was in a line her little crocodile tear herself off, right, left and right, because that's what many of them do, right? When they're cornered, right, they play crocodile tears and victimhood, stuff like that. But people tell Black Americans, y'all start talking about racism and affirmative action, DEI. You see that game go, right? Then you got Saeed, right, the little Somalian tether, right? Like many other tethers up there in Minnesota, Somalians, the ones it applies to, right? They're getting beneficial things up there. How many of them open up businesses? Most of them don't, right? They sit there and get these little business grants and resources and housing assistance, and you get the point. Having to have kids and bam, automatic citizenship. See how that goes? I mean, and just the irony to have the extreme nerve to be a tether, and you come to America fleeing as fast as possible because you couldn't get stuff done in their own country or countries, other different immigration Africans, the ones it applies to, right? And so they do criminality or scamming, being a buffer to sit there and do anti-American Black Americanism. But ones that have the skin of Black, right? The nerve, the ones it applies to. The nerve. But in this situation, the irony of the super nerve of these various types of criminality Somalians versions who participate in the largest fraudulent child nutrition scheme ever, to sit there and be part of fleers. And then many of them, the ones it applies to, were participating in this scheme. And you're in America, and most of them didn't even come over here 100 years ago. Somalians were nowhere like that in America in 1925, people. That's if you had any Somalians over in America. If you did, it wouldn't be worth even talking about because it'd probably be less than 100 or so, if that. I mean, that's beyond if. Because really in the 1990s, when you start having a few more. And again, Somalis right now, demographically in the United States of America, makes up less than a couple 100,000, which is equivalent to less than like 0.5, 0.896, something like that. They don't even make up 0.5% of the whole United States population. And one of the top main demographics, Somalians, are in Minnesota. And how many of them fled from Somalia? So the ones who participated in this, that is some nerve. But people don't call Black Americans lazy. Right? What? After building this country up from scratch more than anybody else besides certain ones within the prominent culture, even that is questionable on many different fronts, because how many of them were lazy? and broke and unsanitary. Oh, they don't talk about that. Oh, they don't talk about that at all. Right?
Convicted these two on a total of 28 counts, including wire fraud, conspiracy, federal programs bribery, and more. Now, after the verdict today, we heard from Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson. He has led the prosecution of this case from the very beginning, as well as the attorney for Amy Bach, Kenneth Udoy Bach. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
Beating our future cases come to symbolize the problem of fraud in our state. It has become the shame of Minnesota.
He said the shame of Minnesota. Not because they were Black Americans doing this. Nope. You see the quietness of this? See, can't blame Black Americans on this, right? Because these were Somalian immigration tethers, right? See, Somalians ain't jumping them down again with Nigerians. Somalians ain't jumping them down with Eritreans. Somalians not jumping them down with Tanzanians. They're not jumping them down with Nigerians, right? They said, no. Those are West Africans. They don't even talk to West Africans like that. You see how this game goes, right? See how this game goes. So let me go ahead and what I want to do here, what I want to show. Give me a second here. 1 second. Let me. Which one I want to play next a little bit? Oh, that's a good one. Where? Give me a second here. Oh yes, I'm gonna play this. This is what I want. This is also what I really want to play as well. Just a few minutes. Now, as you see already, what does it say here? Why don't you FBAs own nothing or own anything? Somali refugee asks why Black Americans don't own anything. How in the hell can you sit there? But I won't waste my time. But I give salute to the brother Tariq Nasheed, and it's an extreme small amount of Black Americans that will sit there and roast these tethers, because again, you have to have some patience to do this. I know it gets tiring, and many other Black Americans say they ain't finna do all that. Salute to them as well, right? But you got to have numbers of Black Americans that are, especially Black American males, that are about roasting these tethers, because they are getting out of control. They can't get stuff fixed in their own homeland, right? Major corruption, major tribalism, major poverty, embarrassment, how much of infrastructure in many types of places in sub-Saharan Africa not even usable with infrastructure used by built by them, but being built by Chinese and certain types of Russians and other different cultures, other different people, numbers of Europeans, people coming over there, setting up shop, and how many various places it's been on news upon news, be it parts of Ethiopia, be it Somalia, be it Nigeria. I mean, the point I'm getting at, you've had people that have been sitting there just treating certain numbers of African personnel over there like they are nothing in Africa. How many numbers of Chinese people, in South Africa who were complaining, especially back in the 90s, that they were also getting oppressed? You talking about the nerve of that, right? Numbers of Chinese personnel that fled themselves, right, to South Africa, the ones applies to on this, right? And they would complain in apartheid. Where's Pan Africanism, by the way? Where's Pan Africanism, by the way? In apartheid, huh? Quietness. But you got people talking about, well, Black Americans need to call themselves Africans. You don't get out of here with that silly tactic, because that's the delusionary tactic that many of these tethers try to play, because they already know there's no Pan-Africanism like that in Africa, right? When again, the first several Pan-African conventions were not even in Africa. They were basically in Europe. And Pan-Africanism didn't even start basically in Africa like that. Some of the original type people that was really starting to really talk about Pan-Africanism weren't even from Africa like that. And some of the ones that came from Africa, they came to the United States to sit there and talk to numbers of the Black Americans. Right? So that goes. Oh, they don't like talking about that too much. So to sit there and be like this Somalian tether, or I call these attachers, because they may not be in America, because some of these are ops. So like you got some various attachers in some other countries and different parts of Africa too, but that are attachers, right? They want to attach themselves from the outside part of on the Blackism, right? Because they're jealous because they can't flee over to America like they want to, or again, they ops from different places. But the ones that are in America, those are the tether versions on that situation, right? So how this person right here, you have the nerve, and various other ones, they have the nerve to say Black Americans are the only thing. How the hell are you going to say Black Americans are the only thing when they sit there and literally own many types of businesses, HBCUs that they went to, right? How many houses that Black Americans have more than many types of African immigrants? How many degrees that more Black Americans have than many types of African immigrants? How many more Black Americans are successful more than various parts of African immigrants? What? But Black Americans ain't got nothing, right? But at the same time, you say, show me African immigrants, Somalia, Nigeria, various parts of Kenya. Please, please go ahead and show your towns like that was sitting there boomed out by racism terrorists. Please go ahead and show where they grabbing up, the KKK was grabbing up many types of Nigerians, Somalians, and Ghanaians, and Kenyans, Botswanians, Malarians, Ethiopians, Somalians, right? In America like that, huh? Please go and show the Emmett Tills like that for them. Show the Rosa Parks for them. Show the great Fannie Hammers for them. Nope. Huh? None at all. Show the Mega Evers for them. Nope. The nerve of some of these immigration Africans, the ones it applies to. Again, I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters. The nerve of the tether versions. So let's go ahead and play this.
Who is this? Muhammad? Let's get Muhammad in. He said, bring him up. I'm going to bring you up, Mr. Muhammad. Hop on, sir. Hop on, Mr. Muhammad.
Oh, man.
What's up, Mr. Muhammad?
What's going on with you, brother?
I am good, man. What's going on with you?
Oh, just chilling, man.
Hey. Come on, what's on your mind? What's on your mind?
I mean, what's going on? What you got against Africans and stuff, man?
I have.
And you see that old tire game. It's like these tethers and these attachers. They play the same type of ignorant tactic. What you got against the Africans? Africa is a continent, fool. 50 plus wink winks of recognized countries, wink wink, right? So these stupid, idiotic tethers and these attachers have the nerve to sit there and repeat that same dumb crowd. And unfortunately, you even have some Haitians and some other ones too that got the nerve. That don't even control their own country. That ain't that a shame? What 2010, 2011, when that situation with earthquake happened, whatever it is, and this Port-au-Prince and whatever other parts of Haiti and all these gaming situations that's been destroying various parts of Haiti and all the outrages and corruption and extreme poverty. You don't hear no Pan-Caribbean love, do you? Nope. Look what's going on in Cuba, one of the largest islands in the Caribbean. It's Cuba. Man, the potentiality of Cuba is immense. And the system, they really do want Cuba. I mean, they ain't crazy. They're very smart, demonically smart. They said, wait a minute, this is the largest island in the Caribbean, Cuba. The potentiality is great, and they want Cuba. And they probably eventually will get various parts of Cuba eventually on that part. Hopefully not on that. But the thing about it is, where's the Pan-Caribbean love at? Pan-Caribbean connection on that to say, hey, supremacist people, y'all leave Cuba alone. Huh? Where is that old African Pan Africanism? Right? Where are they at in Cuba? Why are they not telling certain sections of, should we say, supremacists to leave our brothers and sisters alone? Nope. Where's all those immigration Africanists, the ones it applies to? Why are they not telling Cubans, y'all Africans, huh? Why aren't they telling Haitians, y'all Africans? And the nerve, because I did a topic show where Kenyans, numbers of Kenyans were sent over to Haiti. The nerve of that part. Won't they say, hey, these are African brothers and sisters, we can't go over there? Nope. So there is no Pan-Caribbean love, people. It is the disgusting tactic, but it's an understandable tactic that's being used. Because when people talking about Black Americans are powerless, no. There is quite a number of Black Americans that are still fighters. And those fighters salute to those Black Americans that are fighters, and they not allowing tethers and ops and KKK-minded people to be sitting there and just continue to keep rolling over Black Americans like that. Now, many Black Americans are pretty much, unfortunately, full of Black pain, right? And many of, unfortunately, that's quite a number of ones that are ashamed, right? Because if you had half of Black Americans that was on point and on code, there will be a gigantic change. There will be reparations. There will be consequentiality of constructivism toward tethers. Many stuff will not be allowed. Many things. So let's go ahead. And finish this.
Nothing against Africans. I can't stand tethers. It's a big difference.
What's a tether, brother?
A tether is somebody who comes here and tries to undermine us. I got a problem with that. A person who's just African ain't got a problem with them whatsoever. And only tethers get offended when we get on tethers.
And that's the point too, right? See, they never talk about the numbers of African immigrants, the ones that applies to, and even certain ones within certain parts of Africa who have a blatant demonic hatred of Black Americans, where they call them the Katas, right? And the various other derogatory names that they call Black Americans. But at the same time, they can't fix their own countries of corruption and poverty. One of the top three or four most largest slums on this planet is in Africa. So you got other people that can't fix the extreme poverty going on in various sections of sub-Saharan Africa. Can't fix the major poverty levels going on in other Africa. The extreme low, embarrassing minimum wage in various sections of Africa. But you got ones that try to call Black Americans lazy. And Black Americans can make minimum wage and make more than many countries in various sections of Africa, making minimum wage. And let alone what was the in generalness of median income is around 40-some plus thousand in general for Black Americans, especially Black American males. You know what, $40-some $1,000? That's basic lower level in general. I'm just giving an example. Somebody can make $25,000. Don't make you better. Make somebody less. Make somebody less because they make $25,000. They don't make 50, 60, 80, 100,000 because there are some Black American personnel that's questionable with smarts, and they can make about 100-some thousand, 200,000. They don't make you smart because how much money you bring in, but that's a whole different topic. But I'm just sitting there saying the amount of half of what Black Americans make, especially Black American males, will make some people pretty embarrassed in various sections of Africa. The ones it applies to who try to talk about Black Americans. Right? See, they are lucky because there's not a lot of Black Americans that say, "Oh, okay, y'all want to play this? We're gonna start roasting the hell out of many." However, numbers of African personnel who talk crazy about Black Americans, be it in Africa, be it in America, it's going to be super roasting time because they are not going to allow this to continue to keep happening. You're not going to stop every single thing, but it's like enough. See, the problem is they know it's not enough Black Americans to say enough of this. Not gonna let you to keep doing this when you can't even control corruption and poverty. And let's not even talk about the major single motherhood and the outrageous population outburst that's going in various parts of Africa when how many of those males are not even in those kids' lives. Oh, we don't want to talk about that. The messed up infrastructure in various sections of Africa. The ones that applies to. I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters, so we're not going to play that. They know where they are. Salute to them. And they know how numbers of some of their other personnel, right, within the confines of that city or town or village. They know there are numbers of some questionable ones, some ones that are sellouts among each other. They know. Credit given to those type of good African brothers and sisters. Right?
Omar, what part of East Africa are you from?
I'm from Somalia.
Somalia. You in Minnesota?
No, in somewhere close.
Okay. So what's the problem that y'all have with foundational Black Americans?
I have no problem with foundational Black Americans. What I'm wondering is why you guys want to separate.
You mean from the Somalians who would go around telling folks that they ain't Black?
I mean, yeah, we're not Black. Everybody's their own thing, right? You're right.
You see, that's why I said there's numbers of within certain immigration Africans that ain't that smart. No, there are ones that ain't that smart. There are numbers of good brothers, good African brothers and sisters, sub-Saharans and some other ones that say, yeah, we don't really. There is quite a number of some of our African personnel. They ain't that smart. They may have a degree and they still ain't smart. There's some good brothers and sisters. Salute to them again that'll tell the truth. Salute to them, right? So you see this hateful Somalian tether that fled, or his parents fled, right? With him as a child, fled because they couldn't stay over there and get stuff together over there in Somalia, right? Or they came over here, or they met each other in whatever it is, and say they produced him. He was produced in America. He still ate what? Tether, right? He still benefit off of what? The 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment of the Constitution that granted personnel basic automatic citizenship. Didn't work for nothing, didn't earn it. Many people haven't earned the right to sit there and just bam, automatic citizenship based upon the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. When it was specifically more toward Black Americans. And the supremacists, what they're bringing, they start diluting it down and talking about equality clause and feminism start putting a little clause in there, and the list goes on. That's the brilliancy, right? So the thing about it is, it's an embarrassing part that to many type of tethers, right? They don't want to talk about again the number of African immigration type person that once applies to that got this thorn, right, in their mentalities toward Black Americans, and Black Americans have been the most openest to many types of African immigrants, right? And some other type cultures too. Don't get it confused. I'm just utilizing Somalians since this guy's Somalian, this hateful one, right? For his blatant anti-American Black hatred. See, again, and they're lucky because they know there's no consequentiality of constructive responses to say, okay, y'all want to do this. We're about to sit there and reduce all this damn down, right? Constructively, right? Constructively. And it's like the delineation movement. Oh, that's messed up a lot of African immigration type person that once applies to, and some various parts of the Caribbean type person that once applies to, right? Just like, oh, it's okay for you to be certain parts of from Jamaica or another Caribbean island. I'm just giving an example. Or Haitian. You can rep that. Okay, some other people are like, okay, I wouldn't do all that, but they can rep that left and right. Again, I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters from Jamaica. Right, some good brothers and sisters, unfortunately. Some of them going through stuff in Haiti, but you get the point, right? And various other beautiful Caribbean islands once applies to, right? They are of their island nationality first, or their tribe, or what do you want to call them? Island tribe, or what do you want to call it? Island territory first, right? Just like in Africa, they are their tribe first, nationality second, right? African third, right? Right? But Black Americans was like, hey, no, we're Black Americans, right? We're not African Americans, because that's a tiring, be it for the census, being in general, the African American generalization, that needs to be just kind of basically erased and reformatted. And people use that all they want, but the reality of ones who know that knowing, they say, no, Black American, because that is very specifically saying Black, but specifically an American Black, right? That's like other culture could say Nigeria, but they're tribes in Nigeria. They're a tribe first, they're Nigerian second, and then they're African, well, a generic African third, right? Go same thing, Ethiopia, Somalia. You get the point, right? In this situation, because it's Somalian, that whatever tribe he's from, so they'll play dumb to them, the Black Americans who don't know no difference, because most Black Americans ain't gonna ask nobody first, hey, what tribe are you from, Nigeria? What tribe are you from, Somalia? What tribe are you from in Ethiopia? What tribe are you from Ghana? What tribe are you from in Kenya? What tribe are you from South Africa? What tribe are you from Sierra Leone? What tribe are you from Guinea-Bissau? You get the point. Most Black Americans ain't gonna ask that kind of question, because most Black Americans like, I ain't thinking about stuff like that, right? So they just give genericality and say, oh, it's Somalian. What part? See, because they know, well, most Black Americans ain't gonna think about certain tribe situations. But at the same time, we'll tell Black Americans they can't be African Americans, wink, wink, that they're not supposed to be their own uniqueness, right? They've got to say they're African. Please, kind of silly, but they're not that. Those cousins ain't that smart. They really do think 900,000% of Black Americans are that dumb. Now there are some naive ones, but the way they're thinking, they really do literally think that there's no Black Americans that see through this crap.
Right.
FBA.
So we're already separated. We're already separated.
FBA. I mean, we are separated, but we're still under, this whole global system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how come we can't work together then?
Y'all didn't work together in Somalia, sir. How y'all gonna work together with us? Y'all got so many different tribes over there and tribal beefs. That's why y'all had to leave and come here.
No. That's the story they tell the world.
Oh, well, what's the real
Is,
story? What's the real story?
The real story is we got some people that want to separate us.
Right. In your homeland.
And those people are outsiders.
But, sir, y'all got so many different tribes over there, and that's internal.
And the people over there, they just want to come together. They want a country. But, we got, people that exploit and stuff.
Okay. Well, how come there's so many tribal beefs over there?
Tribal? I mean, the tribal thing is just for, this is my people. They're going to help me out when I need help. That's about it.
And you see, he's not answering the question, right? See, salute to, Tariq Nasheed. There are some things, some people question him, but at the same time, like, because that's sometimes you use that N word, and again, that N word needs to be destroyed on that. See, that's a big problem on that situation when people use that N word in public in front of these people. No. That's not very good to do that. But Tariq Nasheed did all these documentaries and did his thing. He is not perfect, 0% perfect like that. And so how many other people are perfect what they do too? Now you can be perfectionality of trying to perfect yourself and growing your thoughts, but we're talking about perfection of that, you think you know everything and no one can tell you something. And because unfortunately, there are some silliness within certain parts of American Blackism, because American Blackism have so much shame built in, unfortunately, with very few exceptions, that, and then going on, that's a different topic. Black Americans are the most uniqueness and the most greatness of achievements and powerful history. But the system says, hey, I can't allow that to be relayed over in these present times in this 21st century like that. So we're going to do shaming tactics. We're going to use various types of African immigration type personnel. We're going to use various types of Caribbean type personnel. The one applies to immigration personnel. We're going to do all these different. We're going to use the border break illegal immigrant type personnel. We're going to use feminists. We're going to do all those stuff like that to do all kind of beat down, more of millions of American blacks because they kind of confused anyway in their mentality. They don't understand how great the history they come from. We talk about history 1,000 years ago because Black Americans have been in this country for centuries and have built this country more than anybody else. Nobody comes close to Black American history. Nobody comes close to Black Americans' achievements under the duress and coercion and the threateniness and the violence put upon Black America, and to still accomplish so much. Man, nobody else comes close to that. Nobody. Well, what about Native Americans? How about go to hell? See, they lucky. See, again, how many $5 Indians, $50 Indians? Huh? That most people don't question them and say, why is my taxpayers' money going to what we call Native Americans? I ain't got anything to do with the Trail of Tears. Hell, matter of fact, most people don't know what the Trail of Tears is. They just about Native Americans. And, oh, yeah, they look like this. Okay, the ones that came across the Bering Strait, a few thousand years ago, those are not the original. I don't want to go into all that. That's a whole different topic. But the point is that how many Black natives, right? Because these are people that like talking, those are the pretendians. It's not saying one or the other. It's like, why can't personnel be Black Americans and however sectionality or African ancestry Native Black? It's not wrong. It's not wrong to be African ancestry, the ones who want to do that. It's not wrong to become Black Americans, right? Or Black natives. There's nothing wrong. There's still some lapping within that, but primarily still going to be Black Americans. But I'm saying, what about some of the ones that say, part of a tribe or what we call wink, wink, certain type of native tribe, may not be necessarily Black natives in this situation, but they're, I don't go on, but the point is, they make numbers of Black Americans that do have what we call wink, wink, Native America. I'm not talking about specifically the Black natives. Yes, that are still around. They ain't that many. See, again, you got people that are very foolish, and they keep thinking they don't ever question the legitimacy of many types of what we call Native Americans. They know better not to go tell them, you're not really the true ones. They know better, right? But they'll tell Black Americans, the ones, the Black natives, they just pretendians. But they never tell the Anglo version of pretendians, who are the original pretendians. They never tell them, hey, make them quantify their Native Americanism. Nope. Because they know better, because they won't be listened to. Right? But regardless, just say the Black Americans, because they keep trying to put Black Americans in some one box only, when it's still primarily Black Americans, as long as they trace their lineage back, doesn't matter what side, back to at least the 1800s. It ain't that complex. And in between that part, some of them intermingle what we call wink, wink, Native Americans. I'm not talking about the Black natives in this situation, because they're all small, but we're talking about the wink, wink, Mongolian mixture, those kind of versions that came across the Bering Strait, right? That kind of mixture on that situation, and say that mom was a full-blooded in that area, or the dad. And so after that fact, when that Black American say, okay, I want to sit there and put the paperwork in, unfortunately, there used to be more Black Americans that put paperwork in, do their genealogy to try to figure out if they're a part of a certain wink, wink Native tribe. And so put the paperwork in for that. But some of them Black Americans, they know where they are. They try to, and you have people that try to, the ones that had denied them. Even though they had the legitimate paperwork, they still try to deny them. Right? So that goes. But at the same time, when it's dealing with Anglo $5 Indian versions, there's no quantification like that, isn't it? See, that's the embarrassing part of it.
No, it's pretty, those tribal beeps are pretty bad. And what happens is y'all don't get together there. You're not on the same page there. And then unfortunately, a lot of y'all come over here and have the same tribal dispositions against us. And we're like, hey, let's chill out with that.
No, the true Somali will, the Somali people, they want to come together. They don't want to be separated by countries. We want a whole greater Somalia. We want all our land back. We have things. We have initiative. We have goals. That's the things we want. What do you guys want, though? That's what I'm wondering.
None of your business, right?
We're chilling. You just want the system the way it is?
What do you mean?
Just subjects of, white folks.
I mean, you see these tethers, man, they are so disillusionary, man, with their inadequacies, right? Now, again, Somalians only make up about 1% in the whole Minnesota state. Minnesota is only about 1% of Somalians. That's it. And they make less than a couple 100,000 in the whole United States. That's all, less than a couple 100,000. And you talking about this white man? What do you think certain types of white men are doing over in various parts of Africa? Huh? What about that? What about the Chinese personnel that go in Somalia? What about the various parts of Europeans that's going to Somalia? What about them? You don't talk about that, right? Because they're scared. And Black Americans have already been building this country up more than anybody else. Huh? Besides the predominant culture. You see, these fools are disillusioned, right? Because how many, again, European white people over there in various parts of Africa taking over? And he know he ain't got no juice himself. He's a nothingness. In Somalia, he's a nothingness. In his Somalian community, in America, he's a nothingness. But they got the nerve to try to talk crazy Black Americans. And unfortunately, they do this because they know predominantly many Black Americans are allowing these tether food clowns to sit there and disrespect Black Americans, which is an insult to the powerful history of Black Americanness. It's an insult.
A Somali is telling us about being subjected to white people, like
Exactly.
the British wasn't spanking that ass over there.
No, the British were trying to sign contracts and stuff like that. They weren't really out there.
What y'all did, y'all was signing plea deals with the British, and still got bitched out, and then y'all had to come over here.
No, Somalia had the longest colonial war in all of history. All of history.
How'd that work out?
How'd that work out? We fought back. We fought back. Unlike some people, I don't know, we
Like
fought
who?
back.
How'd that work out?
How'd that work out? How?
Your society is destroyed.
As soon as
your society is destroyed. That's how that worked out, right?
The thing is, as soon as we had a country, we were going places. The powers be did not want us to go places. They put a smack on that. That's what happened.
You see how they are embarrassed because Somalia is made up of two different territories, people, like British and Italian territories, Somalilands, and they united in 1960 something, whatever it was, that Somalia got their independence, because Ghana got their independence in 1957, right? They were the first ones on that. So years later, a few years later, whatever it was, when Somalia got their independence, right? Matter of fact, give me a second. No, I'm interested here. Somalia independence. July the 1st of 1960 is when they got their independence from former British Somaliland and Italian Somaliland when they united to form Somali Republic. So you got this tether Somalian who himself, he's an embarrassment, and he is, he definitely feels embarrassed and ashamed that you got no Pan Africanism over there in Africa right now still, because there's still tribalism going on in various places. You got various places in North Africa that ain't thinking about various other African places. You got no Pan Africanism whatsoever between East African and West African, not like that. Numbers of South African, the ones it applies to, they're not jumping on board again with North African. You got numbers of white South African Boers, Afrikaners. They don't give a damn about various types of Black South Africans, right? But you got people, hey, well, Black Americans, Black folks, Black Americans call themselves Africans. Get the out of here, right? It's almost like they look at Black Americans as a punchline, just to say anything too, as if Black Americans ain't nothing. right? You see how they insulting his ass? Almost like, again, they look at Black Americans collect as a punchline. You be like, how in the hell? So immigration African tellers, the ones that apply, so not talking about the good brothers and sisters, that's very few, they're allowed to come over like that because collectively they know they don't allow their own type tellers to come over and coons to come over, right? To be put in positions in America, to be, shall we say, generically blackized, right? So the word, this fool says something about the longest war. I'm pretty sure that's not correct type history in general. I'm pretty sure, and then that's a mixture of kind of white lies. You said, wait a minute, because now Somalia does have some of the longest land, the longest like kind of a lengthwise, especially the landmass by the ocean, has some of the longest ones in Africa, and they're not doing nothing with it. Right? Because the other different foreign entities that are putting themselves in Somalian situations, right? And how many Somalian situations going on with corrupt politicians, right? So this Somalian teller can't do a damn thing about it. They see how quiet they are. And he's like, wait a minute now, I'm pretty sure some Ethiopians will say, wait a minute now for a second. We beat back the British a lot longer than Somalis. What are you talking about, right? See how that goes. So let me go back and reshare my screen on this situation. One moment here.
Yeah, y'all got destroyed, defeated, and you had to come over here with the real riders, right?
I mean, we came here for the money. That's about it.
Hey, you hear that? Hold on, let me play that one. You hear? Not patriotism, not to sit there and build American, not to build within the America, situation as Black Americans have been doing for centuries. They come over here to get money and to send money back to Somalia as remittances, as various other ones that do too. They're not here on America to build nothing for. They're going to build anyway, but they're not here to be any kind of patrioticness, right? At all. They're over here to get stuff. That's it.
Had the longest. That's how it works.
Right. And you were.
I'm not gonna say that. You guys did a good job. I'm not gonna say
how'd that work out.
How that work? Employed and stuff.
Okay. Well, how come there's so many tribal? How come there's so many tribal beefs over there?
Tribal. I mean, the tribal thing is just for this is my people. They're gonna help me out when I need help.
Yeah, so you know already how he made excuses for that. He didn't answer the question.
And you had to come over here with the real land because it's failed. You have a completely failed homeland. You
right.
Have your microphone. Gave us what? Unless somebody paved the way for melanated, then you had to come over here with the real riders.
As soon as
your society is destroyed. That's how that work out.
How that work out? We fought back. Unlike some people, I don't know, we like fought back.
How that work out?
How that work out? How?
Your society is destroyed.
As soon as
your society is destroyed. That's how that worked out, right?
The thing is, as soon as we had a country, we were going places. The powers be did not want us to go places. They put a smack on that. That's what happened.
Yeah. Y'all got destroyed, defeated, and you had to come over here with the real riders, right?
I mean, we came here for the money. That's about it.
That's no patriotism whatsoever. Black Americans are the #1 most patriotic personnel ever in America, besides certain ones of Panama's culture. And again, there are some questionables in certain sections of that. Because there are more people that in certain sections in Americanism under Angloism that have ran away in various wars more than Black Americans. Black Americans have never been known to sit there and run away in wars. Never have Black Americans ever been known to be doing that of any significance at all compared to numbers of personnel within certain parts of Angloism who have been known to run in cowardly fashion in various wars. Right? So Black Americans are the #1 most patriotic. I mean, think about, American Revolutionary War. Still, Black Americans, right, basically being segregated, right? That was what, 1776, right? Fighting to sit there and help what became United States of America to sit there and go into the Revolutionary War. Not Somalians that wouldn't even been on an even inkling, not because they were Nigerians, don't do that. Not because they're Ghanaians, please don't. Not because they're from Kenyans, don't do that. Not because they're from Ethiopia, no. Right? I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters. You know who you are. But we're talking about historically, history. Black Americans don't owe a damn thing to other people talking that don't understand the power of American Black history. American Blacks don't owe nobody no damn explanation. When people can't even fix that person's own country. And tribalism and corruption. Again, I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters. You know who you are, because they know what the truth is as well about numbers of their coons and sellouts. So this coon and sellout that was allowed to come over here, or parents that fled, and again, either he was a fleer pawn that his parents came over with, or he still was a product of fleeingness and utilized the 14th Amendment of the Constitution when he was born to be automatic citizenship that was not earned, right? And he's sitting there telling you, they many are over here to get that money. No patriotism, right? More Black Americans better wake the hell up and see what these fleers are really about.
Welcome, because the money
got over here, so we came over here. That's how it works.
Right.
Exactly, right? Because they had shit going on over there in various parts of Somalia. And again, I'm not talking about some of the good brothers of Somalia. They knew who they are. But at the same time, they know that there is corruption. They know that the infrastructure is not like that. And again, we're not talking about when you look at the capital, right? And you see parts of no. You look at the collective part of Somalia, you say, oh my goodness, the poverty, the inhumanity, the failedness, no programs to truly help Somalians out, the tribalism that still goes on, the major poverty level that's still going on. And that's probably going to be one of the last videos I'm going to go ahead and play probably after this and close down the show, right? That shows the gigantic hypocrisy on that part as well, right? So didn't have it going on over there. This fleer, his ass ain't going back because they said, we going back. I don't know if his parents passed alive, doesn't make this irrelevant, but him, he's not going to go back over there. He said, damn, ain't nothing popping up over there like that. But they're over here fleeing, right? More and more fleeing. But he's not going back to Somalia to sit there and take care of corruption, take care of poverty, take care of infrastructure, because he's nothing. 99.9998999999999. He's nothing. But they got the barrenness of audacity to try to talk crazy to Black Americans. And they do it because they have been allowed to do these kind of things and not be roasted back. Right? Now, along with being roasted, that's fine. It's not enough. Black Americans, needs to be more. But even more, the consequentiality of the outcome is saying, no, this disrespect is not going to be tolerated. They're telling these tethers, stop. It's not going to be tolerated. Right? To my constructive responses. Right? It's already the nerve to tethers think that Black Americans are supposed to explain why they think the way they think. It's like, who the hell are you? A tether that can't get shit fixed in their own country. That's the nerve. But they're jealous. Their jealousy is astonishing.
Right, and you weren't able to get any money unless somebody paved the way for melanated people to earn a good living over here. That didn't happen by circumstance.
Hey man, you guys did a good job. I'm not gonna say you ain't did nothing. I'm not gonna say that, but
As if Black Americans needed his damn validation when he can't get shit fixed up in Somalia. Or take his ass back, tethering ass back to Somalia. Of course not. Because again, he's nothing. But let me fast forward this, man. Let me fast forward this.
Don't say that.
Oh.
everything you got, you were given. You didn't take it.
Who?
You didn't take
Who?
it.
The nerve.
Who? Who gave us what?
Who gave y'all the rights? Who gave you all these rights and stuff?
We did.
When?
14th
Marching?
Amendment. 14th
Marching?
Amendment. No.
Marching?
Do you see these little disgusting ass tethers? Marching. They don't even do shit in Somalia like anything like that. You be like marching. You realize, fool, that Black Americans have done more than marching. Black Americans did marching. That brought about a lot of stuff as well. Right? Especially the way Black Americans were doing that kind of marching. Right? When other people looked at Black Americans, see what they were doing, now you start seeing numbers of people doing more marching. By they looked at Black Americans, the one it applies to. And this fool, like, you ain't doing shit in Somalia, fool. So I want you to go back to Somalia and sit there and tell them to straighten up. No, because they be looking at you like, who the hell do you think you are? Right? You see this fool, like, numbers of Anglo people just gay Black American stuff out of the kindness of their heart, the ones it applies to. Black Americans took and say, hey, no, we want this, right? Ain't gonna be too much of this continuously lynching, violence against Black Americans. Ain't gonna be too much of this consistently, right? What is various people in Somalia doing? Like this tether, that he can't go back to Somalia and take care of stuff. You saw these fools go, right?
Marching was what you marched on an inner tube to get over here.
So let me fast forward this to this guy.
Comedian. No, let's be real. We saw the dude, the Captain Phillips dude. Much for me.
It is to actually drink the water.
Keep hanging out your mouth. Can't close your mouth. And you got some.
So goddamn delusional.
That's right.
Romantic lead. I need more movies.
Hey, that was a good-looking brother right there. He should have got more movies.
This fool thought that he was a bona fide actor, like he didn't get typecasted because he looked like a hungry pirate. He like,
yeah, that guy from Somalia that was on what was his name? Whatever the guy they moved that Captain Phillips guy. People know what I'm talking about. God dang it! Hold on, let me play this.
I want to scene with Halle Berry. He thought he was going to be
Hollywood trying to do us wrong. They don't want the right.
Hold on. He thought he was going to be the next Morris Chestnut. He was going to be Musty Chestnut. He thought he was going to be a sex symbol. This fool was up here talking about how come he ain't getting romantic leads. Dude, have you seen your mouth? Come on. Y'all are so goddamn delusional.
True.
Y'all are delusional, brother.
True.
Y'all,
very much.
Brief. Let me get some. Y'all want to talk to this dude? Who wants to talk to Muhammad? Who wants to come up?
Oh, this sister. Now, again, there are some good sisters. Now, very small amount because they have been sister cast-eyes by various parts of Anglo-ized type feminism, which is a different topic in itself. But there are some good numbers of Black women. Salute to those kind of Black women. Oh, man, some good ones. But they're getting smaller and smaller. But this sister is going to roast him. And I'm going to finish up with the brother who just, see, they don't like Black Americans who are, again, it is such an essentialness that there has to be more Black Americans that know how to roast these little tethers. And again, not arguing is irrelevant, but roasting them, not explaining and making them feel bad for their tetherness. Now, some of them are so ignorant that they understand how they sound. Doesn't make no difference. You roast them. You let them know that, no, however, Black Americans are not that one, right? And they're going to sit there and roast their asses back and show them how embarrassing they are for fleeing, that they couldn't get stuff done in their own original country for fleeing, right? Because they won't be nothing in their own original countries, right? And again, I'm talking about some of the good brothers, sisters in Africa in certain sections of the Caribbean. I'm not talking about the good brothers and sisters, but we're not going to play minimizing tactics. We're talking about ones that's not small. Those are going to be very small. First of all, that's going to be allowed to come over to America in the first place. The coons and the satellite versions of those places will be the ones that are allowed to come over to America a little bit quicker, right? Because they're no threat and they have an internal hatred themselves because of Black Americans, because they're jealous as it is, right? But watch this, they're gonna roast him.
We're talking this too much for me. The ridiculousness of it. Oh God. But yeah, don't pop your collar, Muhammad, like y'all got it going on over there in Somalia. It ain't popping. And you know that. And you can't sit up here and criticize us, sir. You're just not at liberty to do that. You're not at liberty to do that, brother.
Talking about what we don't got for me. I mean, y'all got these weird bulb heads, teeth hanging out your mouth, can't close your mouth, and you got some nerve to get up here and talk like you better than somebody. Then why are you here? Why did you come over here? You can take your musty butt back to where you came from. You don't have to come over here talking about what we don't got. We doing the best we can amongst our oppressors. You ain't doing nothing over there but fleeing. You know what I'm saying? These dusty ankles over there eating boiled ankles and got the nerve to talk about somebody.
Man. But thank you so much, Sister Halo. I got to get Brother Dan in. Disrespectful Brother Dan.
Old Brother Dan, he finna toast him. And see, this is the way also that's so pertinent. He's not going to raise his voice. He's not going to lose emotionality. He's going to just roast them. And there is so much need for more Black American males to roast these tethers, right? Be it directly or indirectly. And yes, I know there's quite a number of Black Americans that ain't going to pay attention at all. And that's fine, right? But there cannot be any complaints when there are more disrespect that's allowed by these tethers. See, it's not an individual, because unfortunately, us in Black America got this individual thought pattern, which is very naive, because it ain't about that. It's a collective thought, right? And yes, there are some ones that can't be saved. We're not talking about them right now. That's a different topic in itself on that.
What's poppin', Flex? How you doing, man?
Oh, good, brother. We got Muhammad Omar. He was like saying how they had it going on in Somalia, and they had it going on more than us. Muhammad, you here? Unmute your microphone, Muhammad. We got Dan here.
You literally can't drink the water in Somalia. It's kind of hard to say you got to pop it, and if you drink the water, you turn green. Look, man, it's safer to drink the seawater. I'm not even joking. It's safer to boil and drink the seawater than it is to actually drink the water that comes out of the pipes over there. I mean, I really don't like talking about y'all like this, but sometimes we have to bring y'all back to reality. See, for so long, we have been trying to boost y'all self-esteem by telling y'all come from great lands, and now y'all think y'all better than us. Y'all land is doing so terrible over there that y'all had to go to Minnesota where it gets -17 in the winter. Y'all not even used to that climate over there. Y'all had to go that far away from your homeland and then try to talk crap about us. We don't need y'all advice. I promise y'all we good. As a matter of fact, I say this all the time because it's true. We are fighting for justice in our country. Y'all are fighting for freedom. And all those industries you're talking about right now, they're still owned by the Italian, the French, and the British. Y'all don't own that stuff over there. And it wasn't they didn't triple team you guys because they couldn't beat you. No, they wanted to carve up. They literally sat down. I can't think of the name of the conference. You know what I'm talking about, Flex. They sat down. Like, you know what? There you go. They sat down and was like, you know what? We want this area. And they were like, we want this area too. And I said, you know what? How about we just take it together so we don't have to fight each other? It had nothing to do with you guys. They divided up your country like it was a pizza, literally. They was like, all right, we're going to take this. And they were looking for gold.
They only divide up who they fear, okay?
No, that's not what they do. They divide us.
That's what they do. They divide up who they fear.
If that's what makes
and
you feel better.
I don't think they fear you guys at all.
Let me ask you a question, right?
At all.
Let me ask you a question, right? Do you have a treaty with your countries?
Do I have a what?
Yeah, do you have a treaty with your quote-unquote oppressors?
A treaty?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a treaty? Personally?
I'm saying, the country of Somalia, Somaliland, does it have a treaty with its quote-unquote oppressors?
Well, Somaliland is not a country. It's a city, it's a state. Let's say it's a state.
But you guys refer to Somalia. Whatever. So does Somalia have a treaty with its quote-unquote oppressors?
No, Somalia does not have any kind of treaties.
Mm-hmm. But you guys have a constitution, right?
Doesn't every country have a constitution?
What's baked in your constitution?
What do you think is baked in our Constitution?
Yeah, it gives your oppressor certain rights over you in your own Constitution.
And where do you get that idea from?
The Constitution.
And you read that?
Yes.
What did you read?
You guys are not a sovereign nation. You guys are still controlled by that. Who controls most of the interests in your country?
Brother, they don't control through writing stuff through Constitution.
Who
you know how they control stuff?
Who controls most of the
Let me educate
interests
you.
in
They
your country?
control stuff by money. Money controls stuff.
So who controls most of the interests in your country?
IMF,
Yeah,
World Bank,
who controls
things
most
like
of it?
that.
So you guys don't control your own country, right? So you guys don't.
No,
but
we
you guys
control
say,
our own country.
How if they control all of the interests?
Okay.
How does that make
gotta
sense?
go. Peace out. Peace
I
out.
bet you do.
No,
Yo, these people are so delusional, man. Appreciate it, Flex.
thank you, brother. Good Lord. Yeah, Muhammad got the hell up out of here. When you start breaking that stuff down calmly with logic, or they crack up, they crack out, they crumble. And yes, Somalia has several treaties with European powers. They had the Anglo-French treaty. They had the Treaty of Protection with Italy. They had the British Protectorate agreements. Oh, man. They got a whole bunch of different treaties. But they were bowing down to every damn body. Don't let, boy, these fools come over here, be lying their ass off. Boy, see, the FBA family, you better check these people. Don't ever let none of these people come over and fix their mouth to say something about foundational Black Americans. None of these people are at liberty. Oh, he left, yeah, because Dan was cooking his ass with facts. Dan started cooking him. He didn't want to go there. Yeah, these folks come over here and try to do that Prince of Zamunda stuff, and we really got it going on in my homeland. We are better than you in my homeland. Sir, we see what it looks like. You over here for a reason. Your ass is over here for a reason. Y'all not gonna come over here and try to do that Prince of Zamunda stuff. I am very rich in my home. I'm pretending to be Paul here. Y'all not doing that. Y'all, we let y'all do that for a long time. The reality is, yeah, y'all here for a reason. Poverty. All right. And then have the nerve to ask what issue we have with Africans. We don't have no issue, but you're not going to come over here and have an issue with us.
That part right there. And so you see already how the brother was sitting there roasting him. He couldn't, and that's what many of them would do, and they will fall back for many of them. And the thing about it is, they don't like any kind of Black Americans that know how to roast them. Now, again, many Black Americans are not going to do that, and that's fine. I'm just laying, but then it cannot be complaints about saying, look, well, oh my goodness, man, they're allowing these various types of coon tether versions of African immigrants come over here in Caribbean version, the one applies to, right? And doing that. Well, if more Black Americans are not roasting this back and demanding to say enough of this, then they're going to continue to keep doing that, right? Because the small amount of Black Americans that are doing the roasting, they can't continue to keep doing this. There got to be more to do this. And it don't have to be in a direct way. It can be indirect, right? But the point is, there must be a concerted effort way beyond more than what it is now, Black Americans, because most Black Americans are very quiet on this. This is why these tether versions have been allowed to sit there and congregate themselves, right, as an individual tether versions, and to sometimes get together small amount with some other African immigration personnel tether version once applies to. But even though many of them, they are disfragmenting themselves, right? But the point it's making is that it is the nerve. When you had various types of African immigration personnel, that they're not separated like that. They are put within a African immigrationist card, right? So they'll say, oh my goodness, they say African immigrants, and they'll put Nigeria, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Somalia, Eritrea, Ethiopia, in general. I say Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea. That's usually the ones around 5 or 6 main ones in general that they put them inside and generalized African immigration card, right? And then try to nerd to compare to the one uniqueness. Do you see how crazy the hell that sounds? You can compare 5 or 6 various countries, right? How many have got corruption going on? How many got poverty? How many have got not so good infrastructure? The one applies to major tribalism. The places got applies to, right? One of them certainly has one of the biggest types of slums in the planet. They have the nerve to try to talk as well about Black Americans, but their resources are being grabbed up more by foreign type personnel, right? That's a different topic, a situation like that. So the thing about it is, it's the insultingness and the audacity that some of these immigration Africans have the nerve to talk about Black Americans, but they are jealous. That's the thing about it, because Black Americans ain't fleeing, and they don't like that. They don't like that at all. So the last thing I'm going to show is, again, what I was talking about the hypocrisy. This is definitely the last video. The hypocrisy in this situation with this type of fleeing tether. There's a nerve to talk about Black Americans. But again, they've been used to doing this probably for the past, I'll say probably 30 or 40 years in general. Because again, Somalians just barely started coming over here in the 1990s. So that makes it worse. Just came over here around the 1990s. We start having a slight bit of Somalians. I mean, literally slight. Because the number one group of African immigration personnel was really Nigeria. And they weren't even over in America like that. In the 1980s, they were barely registering themselves, right? With a few thousands, should we say. They weren't representing like that in America. And now 2025, Nigerian, I'm talking about what applies to the demographics in America is only a few to several hundred thousand. That's all compared to what, 300 plus million? And they only make up again a few 100,000 Nigerians? Huh? But prior to around 1980s, they only had a few thousand, no, if I say maybe 10, 20,000. I mean, it was like plus or minus. I'm giving an example. But what I'm getting at, it wasn't that many in America like that. I forgot whatever the estimation amount of numbers, but it wasn't even like that what it is now. And it's not even like that now. Because again, they only make up a few 100,000 Nigerians. And again, that makes up less than 0.5% themselves. So they'll group in, again, Nigerian all together. We're going to forget about the hundreds of different languages and hundreds of tribes Nigerians, but they'll just lump them in, right, with Ghana, whatever amount of tribe they got, languages, Kenya, numbers of languages, tribes they got, Ethiopia, many tribes and languages they got, right? Somalia, various tribes, language they got, Eritrea, right? Language and tribes they got. They just bunched them inside 5 or 6 countries and then try to sit there and have Black Americans and try to do some comparison. What the hell idiotic ass tactic is that when Black Americans are not native of tribes? So 5 or 6 countries in this big ass Africa continent, and they're gonna try to compare that with a population that makes only about 12.5, 14% plus or minus, right, of the population of America. What the hell, right? The nerve of them. But they know it's not enough Black Americans to call this nonsense to go out. But closing last particular video, and I'm just gonna kind of play it through for just a little bit without really anything conversation, and just to look at this in this picture. You can sit there. We talking about present day You are not gonna find too many places that's gonna look like this in America that Black America is staying in and huddling around like this. You ain't gonna find no places like that, basically America, where Black Americans are staying like this and being chased out various sections of Somalia. Chased out of various parts of America, like this situation, and having to go to another country, that country. The embarrassing part, and these fleas do not like that at all. Now that flea that was on the show a second ago, that was playing, won't he go back over here and fix this kind of major poverty problem? Somalia faces worsening drought and poverty problem. Somalia faces worsening drought emergency amid critical aid shortages. Won't he fix that part, right? Aid. And you best believe some of the largest contributors of foreign aid to Ethiopia is America. That's taxpayers' money, which means numbers of Black Americans, too. So some of these Somalian tellers got the nerve. They are extremely lucky that there's not quite enough of Black Americans say, okay, they've had about enough of this bull. They've had about enough of this, right? And in Harvard, Ethiopian Somalians, then they start getting roasted in a constructive way. Now, you can't stop every single one, not the point. But enough of them, like some other type of tellers, when they know that more Black Americans ain't playing, oh, you best believe there are some super act right, there will be a lot more, right? Because they know anytime there's a teller jump up and down, they're going to be roasted hard. They're going to be roasted super hard, right? To shut them down real fast and call their embarrassment of fleeing when they could fix their own countries, right? And let alone their own type of brothers and sisters in their own country they fled from. Wouldn't even look at them like nothing, right? The ones that fled like that. Not some of the ones that applies to, right? Now, this is so embarrassing. Oh, these Somalians like that. Oh, they don't like this kind of conversation, showing this kind of conversation, right? Just like, again, they're going to play illogical, idiotic with the many types of Somalians in a situation of this topic today that committed those criminality with that largest fraudulent criminality child nutrition program ever in America's history by many types of Somalians. Oh, they don't like that.
Somalia is in the grip of another drought. Families with nothing left at home are fleeing to camps like this in the capital, Mogadishu. Many say hunger is only part of their struggle. They are also escaping fighting in their villages. Kadra Hussein Ibrahim is still mourning her 2-year-old son. She says he died 3 months ago because she couldn't get enough food for him. She once relied on aid agencies, but international funding cuts means she now gets nothing.
I'm worried about my children. I don't have enough food to give them. My husband is dead. I worry about their future. I can't even eat. They are my priority.
Across Somalia, 2 million people live in displacement camps. More arrive in Mogadishu every day, searching for food and safety. The government has declared drought in several regions. Rains have failed yet again, and 4.6 million people need food assistance.
People are not now able to have access to water. The access to water is reducing. The health facilities that were mainly supported by international agencies, by partners, by government, now because of the significant reduction in the funding have closed. So we see more people displaced. I mean, the figures show that almost 1.85 million children are now at risk of malnutrition.
Most are exhausted, hungry. Those already living here do what they can to help. These people have just arrived from villages farther south. The community here has been helping with food and shelter, but aid workers say they are struggling to help because of the aid cuts. Some organizations previously supported by USAID and other donors say they've lost half of their funding. Sayed Ali Aden shows us a school he used to run inside the camp. It was the only one serving displaced children. Now it's closed, the health center too, because the money ran out.
I've been idle for the past year and a half. My own children are not in school. Many of the children I taught now spend their days in the market doing nothing. We can't afford to feed them. Other schools are too far from the camp.
Back at Kadra Ibrahim's house, she's managed to prepare some soup for her children, but she has no idea where tomorrow's meal will come from. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera, Mogadishu.
Mm, mm, mm. 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 But at the same time, you have, in closing this show up, you have some tethering type personnel that have the nerve in this type of topic. Again, I'm not talking about some of the good brothers and sisters in Somalia and some of the ones small amount in Minnesota, because they're the largest demographics overall in America that stay in Minnesota. But those are a small amount of good brothers and sisters in Minnesota Somalian community, because many are not going to be about themselves going to Somalia and helping their own kind out with these famine and droughts and impoverishment and corruption and tribalism. They ain't thinking about them. Now, they may send some money back and everything. They said, that's all we're going to do, send some money back. You saw the last video I showed you. That was embarrassment. There is no place in places like in America that has even the lowest of lowest in certain parts of Black America that live like that. There is no places like that live like that. Not even close. And unfortunately, even some of the Black Americans that are suffering from homelessness, which is a whole different topic, right? Because most people don't give a damn about Black American men being homeless. They don't, which is disgusting, right? No sympathy. But the minute you start having a little bit slightly more women, then it's like, what are we going to do about that? That's a whole different topic. And numbers of men still don't get that tactic. And it's embarrassing that the number of men that still are naive to not understand what feminism is doing. It ain't about, I don't care about the individual. It don't damn matter. As an individual man, it's irrelevant. No man is a damn mountain. See, feminism is not an individualness. It is a collective. And that's what certain numbers of men don't get it through their thick ass skulls. No one gives a damn about overall individual men in this society. This is why feminism keeps running rapid with anti-male hatred, misogyny. But that's a different topic in itself. So again, in finishing up, what I showed you was it's the embarrassment of many Somalians, because many Somalians have fled from that great ancient continent to now the remnants of what the ancient continent was, and a discombobulation of many sections of Africa. There's just no such thing as Pan Africanism. And many in Africa are trying to just do that, survive themselves. And there is a pseudo caste system in various parts of Africa. Right? And they ain't thinking about Pan Africanism whatsoever in Africa like that. And again, this ain't about some of the good brothers and sisters in Africa and various parts of the Caribbean. So we're not going to play that little game on that. They know who they are. Just like in America, the small amount of good brothers and sisters African immigrationists or Caribbean immigrationists, etc. They know who they are. Salute to them. But those are not the collective. The other ones, they are hateful of Black Americans. And they are jealous because Black Americans don't flee. And they ain't trying to go back to their original homelands and places. For what? When the infrastructure is still messed up in various places. Extreme poverty, extreme corruption, extreme tribalism. Right? It's embarrassing. You're like, who did it look like? 95%? 98, 99, 99.8999% Black African versions in the various places, Caribbean Black, wherever it is in various places that look like that person. And they got the ones that are supposed to got corruption, poverty, impoverishment, foreignness taking over various places. That's an embarrassment. That's an embarrassment. Look what's going on in Haiti. That's an embarrassment. No Pan Africanism helping them out. No Pan Caribbean helping Haiti out. They don't care. No Pan Caribbean helping out Cuba. No Pan Africanism helping out Cuba. Right? Supremacists is like, you better not think about trying to tell us what to do. You better not. And some people know their places. But it is an embarrassment because Black Americans ain't fleeing. And the thing about it, if some people really want to do Pan-Africanism, not some gigantic, it ain't about, never will be that. The best parts of Pan-Africanism was probably, it could have probably been in the 80s and parts of the 90s. And unfortunately, there was various Africanism type personnel that messed up that because they were not jumping on board to say, look, we know what? Let's help our Black American brothers and sisters get this anti-American hate bill. Let's help them get the reparations because this is going to help us out too. Many of them weren't thinking. First of all, in the 80s and 90s, it wasn't even that many African immigrants over here like that. Right? There was more Black Americans that was actually practicing Pan-Africanism than various types of African immigration personnel practicing Pan-Africanism. Ooh, the ones who know who they are, immigration Africans, the ones that applies to various parts of Caribbeanism Black, the ones that applies to, they don't like that truth. Now, salute to the good brothers and sisters who know that truth. But the ones most allowed to come to America, oh, no. They don't like that truth. There's only about a small number of them that are still about saying, you know what, my American Black brothers, they have love for the American Black brothers. Salute to them because American Black brothers will say, hey, they got love for us. We got love for them. But those are a small amount of Black Caribbean brothers and sisters that are about something on that. That's like the small amount of Black immigration African brothers and sisters of the continent that are allowed, that are in America, that are about still trying to, come together with each other. And nothing wrong with that, but those are small amounts. And that's dwindling. Because otherwise than that, it's all about individuals trying to do their stuff in non-Pan-Africanism. But salute to the good brothers and sisters from various sections of the Caribbean. Salute to the brothers and sisters, good brothers and sisters from various sections of Africanism, or Africa, because they know the truth is. So relating to this topic and closing out the Somalians, the ones applies to, they're embarrassed up in Minnesota because there are some cracking down by the Trumpism, how people that's in there trying to limit, asylum from them as well and travel. And oh my goodness, and they're picking on Somalians. Oh, is that right? 5 years ago, they weren't talking about nothing. 10 years ago, they weren't talking about nothing. 20 years, they weren't talking about nothing. 30 years, they weren't talking about nothing, right? Being with Black Americans. Nope, they segregated themselves in various sections of Minnesota and a couple of the main other places. But Minnesota is the pretty much the headquarters for many types of Somalians. And they were segregating themselves among each other. They weren't talking to Black Americans like that. And have the nerve to try to think Black Americans are bad? Are they crazy? Because some other people told them before they fled or when they got over to America, don't talk to those Black Americans. The nerve and they can't even fix their own poverty and infrastructure in various sections of an extreme famine going on right now still in Somalia. The nerve. And again, there's going to have to be some roasting time toward numbers of coon versions of and infiltrators related to Somalians and infiltrated version of coons and sellouts. The ones that applies to, and the extremely hateful ones that have anti-American black hatred. There has to be some roasting by numbers of American blacks that are finally getting tired of this. And there are a few, not enough, but a few more. Because if nothing changes with the liability or continuous liability disrespect from these various types of African immigration personnel, the ones that applies to, they're allowed to coon over here and flee in various sections of the Caribbean, beautiful Caribbean. I'm talking about the ones that applies to, not some of the good ones and good ones. Those are very small in America because this system does not want a collective amount of good African immigration personnel to be in America or the Caribbean to be in America that's still trying to get with Black Americans. They don't want that. They want the coons and sellout versions. They wish to goodness gracious they wish they can take off their skin and be non-ancient black skin or shades of black. Those are different topics in itself. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show.